Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the ProQuality conference. Yay. And my name is Alena, and I'll be your host. Also, please say hi to our talk moderator, Timur, who will be responsible for our tech stack throughout the whole presentation. And it's such a great honor to start the conference with this talk. And the topic is as hot as it could be. Reflection on how basically the whole world is pushing us to almost integrate with AI in our fear to be replaced, and whether AI will ever be able to replace us humans, or if we can coexist. And the spoiler, there is a hope for us. And I'm delighted to introduce one of the headliners of our conference, Maryia, a professional speaker with huge experience in both test automation and spreading the word about various ways to succeed with AI. Maryia, hi, it's so great to have you here on the ProQuality conference.
Hello, nice to meet you, everyone, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you, Maryia, the pleasure is ours. And before we start, dear audience, please feel free to ask any questions via our YouTube chat, and we'll address them to our speaker in the Q&A session at the end of this talk. And please also keep in mind that you can rate our event and send a badge to our speaker on the WeAre community platform. And so, Maryia, let's discuss, is there a place for humans in the soon-to-be AI world?
I believe that tech is made by humans for humans. And if we want to go in the right direction altogether, then we need to have human in the loop. We need to rely on human side of things. And yes, the short answer is, I believe it is so. Yes, let's start the talk then. Well, actually, if this conference would have happened 200 years ago, long time ago, then only half of us would or could attend this event. It's quite impressive, and it would happen because the other half of us would have died during their infancy or early childhood years. 200 years seems like a long time, but for us as a humanity globally, it's only a tiny window. 200 years of innovation brings us cars, electricity, refrigerators, mobile phones, Instagram filters, yeah? And historically speaking, every next innovation takes less and less time to widely adopt. And there are a lot of reasons for that, of course, and mostly it happens because it becomes cheaper and easier to apply new things, to try them out, to install them and use them. And if predictions are right, then in the next few decades, we are going to experience the golden era of humanity, thanks to AI. But there is, of course, several concerns about it, because it will happen only if we are going to use it right. My name is Maryia. I'm interested in both human and artificial intelligence and how to use the technology to benefit everyone. If you want to know more about me or ask a question, chat, whatever, let's connect on LinkedIn, drop me a message. I will try to reply as soon as possible. And in the next few minutes, I would like to share my analysis of latest developments in the AI field and my analysis of latest research papers in the AI field and the projection of it to my daily work life, to my daily testing activities. Well, It's quite hard to distinguish what's right and what's wrong in the AI field, because even the greatest minds of our time send us completely different signals, completely opposite signals. And most of the tech giants, they say that there is no impossible task for AI, that AI is pure magic and can do anything. And on the other hand, the greatest minds behind AI, the godfathers of AI who created the basic things around AI, the foundations of AI, of generative AI, they are saying, they're predicting that AI is about to, or Gen AI is about to hit the limits quite soon, and that we need to invent something else to make progress, to make the next step, to make the next advancement possible. And in this ocean of marketing noise, I would like to stay sane, to stay grounded. And my way of doing that is by looking at research papers, analyzing them, and applying their results, their conclusions to my daily testing activities. And today I'd like to highlight 3 critical dimensions of AI research and that matter for us as testing community the most. We'll cover social aspects, technical aspects, and ethical aspects. And together, all these 3 aspects, they kind of shape how we build and test systems, and how we create tech products that work for everyone. Of course, there is a lot more research around AI, but I believe that those 3 aspects are affecting us the most. And let's start with social aspects. Well, LLMs are changing how we speak, how we write, and not always, let's be honest, not always in the best way possible. We kind of all start sounding the same, and over time, this leads to losing our authenticity, to losing our uniqueness, independence, and so on and so on. And this in turn leads to losing trust in us. In the end, believe it or not, it affects, or it influences project outcomes, and it influences our job security. Another study shows that after the rise of LLMs, our willingness to share knowledge, to talk to each other, significantly dropped. And of course, the decline to share knowledge, to knowledge sharing, is concerning, but not entirely surprising, because often there is quite a lot of questions that people just don't dare asking each other, and they want to ask the machine, the soulless machine, instead of colleagues or teammates. And the core problem here is that good testing practices require a lot more than just straight answers, because it relies on curiosity, it relies on doubt, it relies on finding challenges and trying to answer questions that are not only lying on the surface, but rather digging into the core of the problem. And in this case, virtual communication can't provide this type of communication. And on top of that, there is a big gender gap in AI application. And it's not a secret that the Gen AI tools are mostly used by men, and often because they kind of feel more confident using new technologies. And many women feel kind of underrepresented, uncomfortable, or less visible in AI space. If you look at even at AI research, there are a lot more men than women in this space. But we all know that the better diversity is, the better testing outcomes are as well, because better diversity means better context understanding, better better contexts, and in turn better testing as well. Well, actually addressing all these social needs or social gaps is not an easy task, because it has so many dimensions just in this field. And here I believe we need to support each other and to share even small wins, even small pet projects, small success stories. And work environment is also very, very important. I've seen projects that created this safe space to experiment, and they progress a lot quicker than those who don't have clear guidelines, because people, they tend to dare to experiment more when they know that it's okay to have this project. It's okay to create that little small things during working hours. And removing this uncertainty is and kind of creating clear guidelines really helps a lot. So my recommendation here is creating clear guidelines in making sure that everyone can experiment with new tech, including Gen AI. Now let's have a quick look at main technical challenges in AI adoption. And the biggest question here is that it seems like we might run out of human-made data for LLM trainings, because AI is creating more and more synthetically generated data, well, data generated by LLMs themselves. And it kind of poisons the data out there. And this actually means that there will be less and less human-created data long-term that kind of has to be used for training, to make the next leap possible. And it's quite similar to poisoning the water that would bring, because, well, using synthetic data to train models helps save resources. It helps bypassing several restrictions like copyright or personal data privacy issues and so on, privacy restrictions and so on. However, relying too much on this data, on self-generated synthetic data, also causes problems, because it makes models worse over time. And this time of model decline is called model collapse, which is the biggest issue right now. And we already see signs of big model declining and showing us that, okay, they need to figure out something to make it work, or to make the next advancement possible. And on top of that, of course, current model don't have any reasoning, any understanding, spatial understanding. They don't have any perspective, and of course, they don't have an imagination and any feeling. They can't express any feelings, which leads to big struggles with reasoning. And that's the core of us as humans. And many studies show that even small changes in standard benchmark questions, in standard benchmark assignments, they result in quite a big drop in performance and correctness of LLM answers. And it creates bigger rate of false answers. Or I believe that technical challenges, they shouldn't stop innovation, of course. And I believe that the next step in AI development is around the corner. But let's not forget that right now we're mostly using Gen AI, which is unpredictable. Its output is by design non-deterministic, and it's irrational by design. And treating this output as truth without checking anything, without double checking, is quite risky. And as testers, we know that trusting black boxes without verifying input and output, without knowing how it works, is quite a bad idea. And knowing the limitations of AI systems makes life a lot easier. And I encourage you to check the basics, to know how it works, and to know the pros and the cons of Gen AI systems to be more successful in your job. And last but very important aspect to me is ethical side of things. Well, Gen AI models, they require huge amount of energy to train the models. And training large models can consume amounts of electricity that equals to energy used by thousands of households. It means like it requires energy, as much energy as small cities, for example. And running these models for millions of users, for billions of users, I would say, worldwide, it adds to this demand even more. And this energy demand are so high right now that, for example, in the US, they started to reopen old oil plants. And I believe that it's not the way we want to go. It's going to completely opposite direction to what we were supposed to go. The same goes for water, for example. And most of the data centers, they tend to be built in the areas with spare water resources, which is also concerning, of course. And besides the energy, training models requires also huge computational resources, huge computational power, and big amounts of training data. Unfortunately, no university in the world can afford it, even the most prosperous ones. And well, actually, only a tiny number of big tech companies have enough resources to innovate in this field. This is very scary because without an independent innovation, it might lead us to one-sided applications that only serve to the needs of big tech companies, making social, economic, and so on problems even worse. Well, one example of how LLM responses worsen social gaps is by generating biased data or biased decisions about people who use this, the LLM, the chat, to seek for answers. It could be the decisions could be based on their dialect, race, income, place of residency, and so on and so on. And a sad example of this just happened in Sweden, where I currently live. One social security agency that is responsible for making decisions about paying out money for the people who are either on sick leave or on parental leave or something similar. They actually started to use AI for making decisions about social allowance payments, and most vulnerable social groups just got ignored by the system because there was not enough data, representative data in the database to make it work. To avoid it, the most essential thing that we could do is to include ethical committees in software development and to make the decisions about AI incorporation, not only rely on a few persons in the top layers of the company, but also include people who know how it works and how to make it beneficial for everyone, and how to make data and algorithms behind it beneficial for everyone. Well, if we ignore this type of issues instead and don't look at the data and that's used to fuel AI systems, we actually end up in the world where there is no place for diversity, for care, for equity. Well, now I would like to ask you a question. Could you please share in the chat, what do you think? What are the qualities of a good tester? I'm super excited to hear about it. Yeah, well, I think sharing our thoughts about what is a good tester, it will help us to understand what our role as testers in this all AI mess is. Because I strongly believe that the best we can do is to meet AI challenge with pride and confidence and continuing testing as we did it with any other normal technology, knowing the limitations and strong sides of the system. And let's explore the qualities that bring the quality to the table. I see there are some responses, and they are quite in line with my thoughts around this topic. I think that we don't just test software because we experience it, right? And AI, in contrast, can't feel any emotion. It can't understand the world around us. Well, of course, it's brilliant at following patterns, at finding patterns, but it lacks context, it lacks creativity, it lacks intuition. And now with the rise of AI, our job is much more than just spotting bugs, right? And it's more about understanding human behavior and kind of ensuring that it feels right to use the product. My message today to you is be the frontline defense against the risks of AI. Be conscious about how it works. Be conscious about potential gaps in AI development. And actually, AI is trained to sound like human. Gen AI is confident, it's convincing, it sounds like very professional human, but in the end, it's not human. It's just a soulless machine. And if something flows well, you kind of just don't have much reason to not trust the system. And we need to keep asking questions. We need to keep challenge the system, challenge the AI output. And I urge you to use new tech wisely, not blindly. Be human and stay critical. Thank you very much, and I hope to connect with you either on LinkedIn or on ProQuality community space. And I'm looking forward for your questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Maryia, so much for this presentation. That was quite a refreshing view on the AI topic. And I'd say it gives us human hope. At least what I see. I'm optimistic.
Me too. I believe that we just need to know the limitations, and then it's going to be fine.
Agree. We can overcome about anything. Well, we've been there for thousands of years so far, and we can manage even more, I'd say. So, dear audience, if you enjoyed the talk, please scan the QR code to rate the event and give Maryia a badge. Maryia, could you please switch to the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, and now we are starting the Q&A session. So, if you haven't sent us your questions yet, that's a sign to do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meanwhile, let's see what do we already have in the chat. Timur, could you please bring the question? Okay. Vyacheslav asks, so what are the major risks or negative effects using AI as of now, your point of view? Well, you have already touched this topic a little bit. Maybe you can add something interesting to that question.
Yes, I'm actually working with some of the AI projects right now, and the biggest risks are, of course, are connected to privacy and security, because it's there are a lot of regulations around it, and of course we need to adjust to make AI systems safe in the first hand. But the problem is that AI output is non-deterministic. It means that it may produce different outputs with this based on the same input, and to guardrail privacy and security is not a trivial task right now. It takes a lot of effort, and the best practice is to kind of isolate core AI system from the rest of the system, and to, of course, to double check both data that it relies on, and to heavily test the output as well.
Okay, thank you for your answer. So, valid point. Let's keep that in mind. And Timur, yeah, thank you. So, and that's a question from Nikolina, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So, hello, everyone. Hi, Maryia. What are AI tools apart from ChatGPT that you recommend to use for manual testing for everyday work tasks, preferably open source and free? So, any ideas?
Yeah, well, actually, that's a good question, because most of us are using ChatGPT like chats to test the explore new fields and to chat about anything test related. And there are not so many open source and free tools, to be honest, because it costs a lot to build these systems, and of course most of them are not free. But I would recommend to start with tutorials and the tools that LangChain is providing. They have a lot of courses, a lot of tutorials where you as test engineer could start exploring AI systems and how they work, and create your small agents, your small tools that help you in your daily routine. For example, we built a small log analyzer with the help of AI. Well, because it's kind of hard to, when you have a distributed system, you've got a lot of logs, right? And the system is not always configured to react on issues, on errors lower than a specific level, right? But at the same time, there are a lot of things that you as a test engineer could be interested in logs, and Gen AI solutions help a lot in this space, because they can find patterns that you as human are just not able to spot quickly. So yeah, my recommendation here is LangChain, and of course open source materials like open source videos on YouTube and so on.
Well, I believe there will be more and more appearing from now on because of that popularity of AI. But yeah, thank you for a great input point to start from. Okay, any other? Okay. Timur is asking, so could you please share the most interesting or actual or useful application of AI to your work, personal experience? That's interesting.
Cool question. Well, I'm not a big fan of applying AI, to produce even more ads and stuff that just forces us to buy more things, to be more even more consumerist than ever. And I love examples of AI applications where it helps us humans to be better and to help someone. And some of examples of it are on our in the company where I'm currently working, and it's AI supported suicide prevention system. It actually works with video surveillance cameras that are installed on the train stations, in the underground, in the metro, and they kind of spot people who are behaving in abnormal ways, and they who are probably could fall on tracks, and it actually helps a lot. And the other example is a medical system that, well, a little bit of background. In Europe, it's quite expensive and hard to get a place for special care, like for if you want to do a surgery or something like that. And it's a big problem when someone doesn't show up, for example, on a surgery, or if a surgery takes more time than usual, and then kind of the whole process gets broken. And recently they implemented, I know that in Stockholm they implemented AI system to kind of predict which surgeries will take less time and which ones will take more time based on user data, like age, weight, and so on, and background illnesses and so on. And it actually saved 1,000 spots per year. So
Wow.
you can imagine that 1,000 people could get this possibility to improve their health.
Thank you for that really awesome, amazing examples. And I believe that's where really AI can help us and gives us hope. Yeah, that's what I would say AI is made for, to my point of view, at some extension.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. So, and next question from Teresa. So, hello. Isn't the ratio of how many women are using AI also influenced by the men to women working in IT ratio? Interesting
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Actually, this study was made not only for, or not only based on IT professionals, but generally, like it was a representative group of like all social layers, and the biggest problem, or the main background here, is actually not just the occupation or profession that we're looking for. Instead, it is that women, they generally tend to be more careful, to be more uh, like, they just don't go ahead directly,
The
and they
risk.
have a lot more to do at home, usually, even in the most gender neutral countries. Like, well, I know, I'm living in Sweden. Here it is kind of a dream scenario for women, but still even here, it's the same. Women still do more work at home. They still have less opportunities to be visible, because of this background work, their non-paid work that they're doing, and it reflects also Gen AI usage as well. It's not only IT related, but it's a general trend.
Yeah. Thank you. Real thoughtful answer. The ideas to reflect on. Thank you. Okay, and now the next question from Andrei. So, hey Maria,
Mhm.
do you see
Mhm.
any future in AI agents for automation testing, like API or UI testing based on specifications, mockups, and etc.?
Mhm. Uh, well, I see that AI is a normal technology that has its own pros and cons. And of course, there are better and worse applications. I see right now that there are many startups trying to use AI for UI testing, which is not the best case in my mind. Instead, I would like to focus testing agents applications on APIs more, because it's more it's easier to kind of have it under control. And I've tested many UI. Um, okay, I've got so many demos from UI agent companies, and I wouldn't recommend any of them because their output is quite good on the demo, but when trying to apply it on a real project behind just login form, well, it struggles a lot. And I believe that API applications would benefit more from this technology.
Okay, Great. Yeah, it's often case when the advertisement is much more beautiful than the reality. But yeah, that's something we got used to. But we'll see. See, I think there is a future here as well.
Yeah. I think that it's cool that, well, if you understand that, okay, Gen AI output is non-deterministic, it's different every time, then it's kind of easier to see opportunities in this field. But you need to also keep that in mind, that okay, it's you don't have to, or you have to think that, okay, the old way of thinking, believing that, okay, if you do A then you get B, is not the way it's working. And of course it's just different. We're still on the way of finding the best applications, I believe. um,
Time to improve flexibility of mind. Right.
yeah, of course.
Okay. Let's see. What do we have? Okay. Elena is asking your personal experience. Do you use AI for personal purposes?
Mm. Actually, here I have a nice story, a nice personal story,
Great.
because we, my grandma, she lives in Estonia, and our family used to visit her from time to time, and everyone has different food preferences and allergies and so on and so on. And she always asks us, "Oh, what do you want me to prepare for food for you?" And I was always like, "Oh my god, I can't just think about it." And I let my grandma use ChatGPT to to create a menu that suits everyone. So we just kind of described all our yeah preferences, and then she got several options for dishes that she could prepare. And I think it's quite funny, because there is no age limit to use AI. And it's really good.
Great story. Thank you. Well, the reflection on how to teach your grandma using AI should be the next topic for your next conference. Just let's keep in mind things. Okay, and the next question, and it will be the last for this talk. So we are a bit running out of time, but yeah, let's wrap up with this one. Question from Arthur. Using AI in PA, how much time it is saving in persons to overall work? Well, if you have such maybe
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think there
specific
are enough
numbers.
studies about that. But I think that latest DORA report says that in IT, in overall software development field, AI saves not that much time. Well, I think it's around 5 to 10% in the best case, and the biggest advantage is for senior and up people, because they kind of know how to distinguish between what's a good answer and what's a kind of trash answer. And here I believe that it's important to know that double check all the answers that you get, because it might be just out of an air answer that's totally not true.
I would also say probably the senior specialist even better at formulating what they really need.
Exactly.
It's kind of
Creating
question.
context, creating enough context for an LLM to produce a meaningful answer. That's true.
That's really important for AI, at least at this stage of development. Okay, okay, thank you. And these are really good numbers to reflect on. I remember the times when everyone was talking, well, AI will save you, like I don't know, half of your working time, then 20% of time. But when we are talking about 5 to 10%, that's
Well,
already not
yeah,
that impressive.
true.
Yeah,
It can create code on the ladder of speed, but then you need to double check, verify, and
do
it
all of
also
this
takes
work.
time.
Yep. Thank you, Maria. And I believe that's the time for us to wrap up with this talk. And again, Maria, thank you so much for sharing your view on our future with AI. And that was a really cool talk, and especially the Q&A session as well. And dear listeners, thank you for supporting this event. And let me also comment that the presentation deck will be uploaded tomorrow on our We Are Community platform talk page. But the video recording will be available on our YouTube channel within 1 month after the end of the conference. And now I'd like to invite you on our next talk today, happening in the evening. We'll have a little bit of rest from AI and discuss starting testing from scratch. The what, the who, the how. And that's about it for now. Stay tuned, join ProQuality community in our social networks, and may your tests always be flawless. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you. Bye
you.
bye.